Hello and welcome to the next episode in our series. In the last episode, we removed username from our registration form. You should avoid testing third-party libraries because the libraries you add as dependencies should already be tested. And if we check the post user bundle, you can see it already has a lot of tests for it. So you should be quite confident that the, the the bundle should work as expected. However, we kind of changed part of its defined workflow, and it would actually be nice to have another peace of mind knowing that our application works as expected. So for that reason, let's try adding some BDD tests to make sure that it is behaving as it's supposed to behave. There is a really good article by Constantine about how to write better BDD tests and how to test your application at multiple layers. So it's quite an interesting read and really useful, but in my opinion it would definitely depend on the size of your application. So if you're just making a very small application, something like an MVP for an idea, you probably won't want to test it at multiple layers because you just won't have time doing all of it. But so we kind of avoid testing in this case also multiple layers, but we will also avoid kind of just testing our infrastructure. So we will try to take the middle ground, make a compromise, and still use BDD Behat for testing our testing what our application just works, testing the web part of it, but trying to write scenarios in such a way so that it would be able to refactor it easier, to add testing in multiple layers if, for example, it starts growing really fast and we need this extra security to make sure that everything really works. So let's start by requiring a few dependencies we would need for that. So suppose I require dev, they would only be needed for development, and we will need Behat. We would also need a Behat Mink extension and Behat Mink Gauta driver to be able to make changes to our pages. So let's install those dependencies. Now what it is installed, we need to configure Behat. So go to PHP Storm and create inside our root new file Behat YAML. Yeah, that would be fine for the moment. So we start with a profile, and we need to enable extensions. So it would be the Behat extension. Give it a base URL. And give it a session. We installed Gout driver, so just enable it. And after that, let's configure our suits. Our main would be called default, but it will be actually web or UI. It is. And let's change the path for it. Paths is an array. This paths base is actually where our file is. So in this case, it will be project Socrat application, and our features will be in features web. No more paths for a moment, and we need to describe contexts for it. So to make sure to avoid, at least for a moment, to be able to write scenarios like these, I won't be adding main context, but to get definitions when I go to a page, I'm on the page, I click, you could just simply add Behat main extension context main context. But let's not add this for a moment. So we'll need a few contexts. So one would be let's call it authentications context. So let it be authentication context, and another one database context, which would deal with clearing out database and similar tasks. And that should be fine at the moment. Let's try to initialize the Behat. So vendor bin Behat init, and as you can see, because we described our suite in a configuration file, it set up everything the way everything is configured. So this is the reason why we did the configuration first, and only then initiated the init command. So let's try to write some features just for let's try to execute Behat now, see what it outputs. As you see, we have no scenarios, we have no steps, so it doesn't do anything. So let's create our first feature, and writing scenarios and features will take longer what it might look in this video. I kind of cheated a little bit and made some notes about them before recording. It might go faster once you have a lot of experience with them, or have our stakeholders who would help you writing them, but right now it kind of takes me some time to think of good examples what could be used. So but it's edited out of a video, so to say. So let's create our first feature, and it would be in the web, and we create a file like registration feature. We started with feature keyword, name of feature, and let's see. So first we need to describe the business value this feature will provide, and all of this is just plain text, so you can write as much as you want in any language or format as you want, actually. So to Behat it simply doesn't matter. So in order to get access to questions, so the business value is the questions which provided by the application. When we describe who will benefit from this feature as a visitor, as the visitor is trying to get that benefit, and then we need to describe what he is able to do. So, and we do it from his perspective. So it will be, I need to be able to register for a new account. After this is done, we can start with our scenarios. So scenario, and we can do a few scenarios like registering a new account, and we can do another scenario which could be like registering with an email which is already used. Let's say it like that. Now let's start adding the steps for our scenario. If we run the Behat again, it should provide us with steps that are not implemented, and so we can copy paste and start adding code to them. It's actually possible to start creating the steps right out from PHP Storm, so there is no need to copy paste or use the command line for it. We will want to do manipulations from our steps and to be able to make changes to the page, we need to use Mink and its session, so we need to extend from roaming context to be able to manipulate our pages. We can use CSS to get the elements of the page to be able to do manipulations to them, like clicking the buttons or changing the value of input fields. The elements can be taken out of a page by using just CSS selectors, and we can use Firebug or some similar inspector to get the ID or a class or a different identifier for the input field or our element on the page to be able to make manipulations to it. Right now we don't have a name field, but I just want to add it to our registration form, as it would be nice to have it to distinguish our users and make like emails or anything like that more personal by using their name. So for now we just leave this field as is before adding it. In my opinion, repeat password field is actually useless and just not just could be removed, so we will just get rid of it in our form. And yeah, like if the user has a problem by entering some password and he can't remember that, so he can just use forgot password form and change his passwords to something else. So in my just my thinking, what just like repeat email and similar fields, they are just pretty useless. So as you can see, we just set a single field with that value. Now we need to get our submit button, and it doesn't have an ID value, so the selector will have to be something a bit more complex to get it. So it's failing to connect to our application, and it looks like it's a problem with configuration, as the wrong port is used for it. So just let's change it to 80. Now our test is red because we don't have a name field on our form, so you can check the FOSS user bundle documentation to see how to add fields to form, and it actually contains how to add a name. So we just add it to our entity the validation messages, and we also add it to the form. Let's move the constructor to the top of the file. Our entity mapping is changed, so we will need to update the database with all the new changes. Okay, we have an error. This is just because for getName method we define it, but it should return a string. But on empty entity, this would be a null value. So this is incorrect. So we can just set the name to an empty string to be by default. And it looks like we have our name field in the form, so right now we can just change the selector to get it. Okay, it looks like it's not able to find our password field, so let's see, maybe we have a selector wrong. Yeah, actually we are missing a hash to make it an ID selector, so let's fix that. Okay, now it's not finding our submit button, so maybe the selector is also incorrect. So let's try to find the element on the page by using JavaScript. Yeah, it can find our element, so it's probably something wrong with our selector. Let's try to go through the HTML page and see if there is some problems with it. Okay, it looks like the button is outside the div element we are selecting with ID, so we just will have to make our selector a bit more complex to get the form and then the submit button. And finally, our step is green and passing, so we can right now continue with the next step, and well, it definitely will have some problems, so just we're gonna fix them each one by one as to make as long as our test is red, and to make it also green and make it pass. So I think it's enough for this episode. We will cut it short because we have a lot of work still to do. And like the video, and we'll see you on the next episode.